Fantastic. Welcome everybody to the 19th Derek's Live Web Chat Show. And today I've issued a challenge to my two great friends, Tim from Texas and Kevin from Chicago, to take Godfrey and I on with a competition of 20 tips, business tips, life tips in 20 minutes. This is almost a book. You could see it published next year by Pearson, let's hope. But and then afterwards, if you want to put any questions in the chat box, please do as we go along. We'll answer questions for as long as you like. And if you want to go at this next week, you're very, very welcome. Gabby is the official referee tonight, and just to keep the Americans in order. And I just want to introduce the players first. On the first tee is Kevin O'Connor from Chicago, Illinois. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you.
And on the second tee is Tim Durkin from Dallas in Texas. Give everybody a wave, Tim.
Got it.
And on the third tee, I've not got this quite right, as Godfrey's smiling at me. On the third tee is Godfrey Lancashire from Bridport in Dorset. And I'm on the fourth tee, sweeping up behind you all. And Gabby's going to give us 10 seconds. We've got 10 seconds left. And the biggest sin is to go over 1 minute on the time scale. So we're recording, everything's going on. So Gabby, who you choose, who starts with the first tip?
So chaps, eyes on the screen, because I will give you a 10-second warning and then at a minute you cut. So we will start in, we will go in alphabetical order. So Derek goes first.
Thanks, Gabby. What an honour to be here on my own show under pressure. Right,
so the minute begins.
Okay, one of my most favourite sayings is, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. So the trick is, if you always do the same thing in life, you'll always get it. And people go around moaning. We can hear people moaning all the time at the moment. But the real thing is to, when you've done it, then move on to something else. Don't get stuck. I worked for Barclays for a long time, and I knew when it was time to leave Barclays and move on to what I was passionate about. I was president of the Speaking Association. I knew when it was time to stand down and do something else. When coronavirus hit us, I knew there was an opportunity for me to do something like this, meet some new friends, which would be fantastic. So if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Finished.
Excellent. Well done. Fantastic. So moving on then, we go to Godfrey. Oh, who is on mute.
Okay.
Fabulous. So reset, off you go.
A client once, a solicitor client, asked me to deliver some papers to a gypsy site and evict the gypsies from what was private property. So I arrived and got out of the car. There were about 20 caravans. And as I approached the site, a huge guy, clearly the leader of the pack, approached me. One interesting thing, he had a shotgun and he was coming towards me and had the shotgun at my chest. I smiled. I gave the open gesture and explained nicely what I wanted him to do. We had a 5-minute civilized chat. He took the papers from me and we shook hands and I left. And the top tip is having empathy, anticipating what somebody else is going to do. And more importantly, the real big lesson is always treat somebody as you wish to be treated yourself.
Stop. Excellent.
Oh, that was close.
Oh.
Perfect timing.
Wonderful. Okay, so that then moves us on to Kevin. When you're ready, the time starts now.
So one of my physicians told me that the opposite of anxiety and fear is not peace, it's courage and determination. We have an ability to decide how we feel about ourselves and how we interact with other people. One of our mentors, Nito Cobain, says we all have a to-do list. We have a stop doing list, but we should also have a to be list. And I think this virus time is allowing us to retool and re-examine, who am I going to be in this moment? perhaps in an argument or disagreement with my children or my spouse, what do I want them to remember from this encounter? Do I want them to remember that I was right or that I listened? Alfred Adler, the famous psychiatrist, said we need to understand people, we need to hear with their ears, see with their eyes, feel with their heart. And that's when we really understand somebody else.
Lovely. Excellent. Oh, I like that one. So over to Tim. When you're ready, the time starts now.
The first thing that I want you to do from now on is to discard all of your priorities. And there's a reason for that. I want you to discard it because the word priority came into the English language in the 14th century. Its etymology is from French and from Latin. It means one before others. It survived for 6 centuries, many plagues, many wars, 2 world wars. It survived revolutions and insurrections, but it did not survive the ascendancy of management consultancy in the 1960s, when, in an effort to make people more productive, they pluralized the word. That, by definition, is singular. One before others. Find your priority, choose it, and do it.
Excellent. Well done. So, based on that round, I'm going to give 1 point to the Americans because the Brits went slightly over.
Oh,
well done.
No,
Round of applause.
boo.
no, I don't agree.
Objection.
I'm beginning to appreciate the difficulty of your position.
Yeah. 4 great top tips after round 1. So, if we are ready for round 2, this time we're going to go in age order. So who is the youngest between the 4 of you?
We're all going to put our hands up.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely the youngest. Youngest
So,
in mind.
Anyone in there between 65 and 70? Between
Above.
70 and 72?
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Okay, so Tim's the first to go. So Tim, if you are ready, you're gonna go. You'll be going first.
Okay.
We'll do Derek second, and then between Godfrey and Kevin.
They're very old. They're very old.
73.
73.
Yeah.
Godfrey.
72.
I don't think so.
So we will go Tim, Derek, Godfrey, and Kevin. Okay. So Tim, if you're ready for round 2, your second top tip, off you go.
All right. The question that I have is, what do you have to let go of in order to get what you want? What person, place, or thing, what habit, attitude, or belief no longer serves you in your attempt to become your best self? Instead of a to-do list, I suggest you make a to-don't list or a let-go list and examine what it is that's holding you back. Please remember, it does hurt to let go, but it hurts far more to try to hold on. You know, the reason that the people that Moses led in Egypt were lost in the desert for 40 years was not because Moses was a man and refused to ask for directions. It was because they couldn't let go of their Egypt practices. So it was their children's children, none of the originals, got into the
Well done. Fantastic. Little bit of repetition there with Kevin's early one, so bearing that in mind. So just ready for your next tip, Derek?
Ready? Shall I go?
Go for it.
Okay, let's talk about negotiation skills for a second. One of the things that people don't like in negotiating is conflict. So I coach people to use the good guy, bad guy technique linked to higher authority. What that actually means is you stay the good person with your client. You use the board, the committee, your other people as the higher authority, and therefore you get the price down and get the price fair. So I couldn't possibly pay that because the committee would go mad. I couldn't possibly pay that because my wife would go potty if I did. So using the higher authority, that way people who don't like conflict, who are perhaps introverts, scared to ask, can use the higher authority, and you've always got higher authority. But remember, it's never your boss, because if it's your boss, they'll say, let's get the boss in rather than talk to you. So that's my tip, good guy, bad guy linked to higher authority for conflict and negotiating.
Fabulous. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, and then across to, who did we say next?
Well, Godfrey says he's younger than I am.
I am.
So
I am.
across to Godfrey. So when you are ready, Godfrey, for your second top tip, off you go.
Thank you. I was interviewing a suspect under caution who'd sworn an oath to say he had no assets. I didn't believe him. I gave him the opportunity. I said, what house do you own? He said, none. And so I pushed across the desk the land registry document that we already had, which showed that he did own a property. And I then said, what other properties do you own? And he mumbled. And I said, remember, you are on oath, and remember the research we've done. And he gave me 2 more addresses, and he owned both of those. Top tip, in any interview, CV interview, job interview, any sort of interview, make sure you ask a question to which you already know the answer.
Excellent. Well done. Well within time. Well done, Godfrey.
As was the other one, by the way.
Between the two, you're well within time. Excellent. And finally, across to Kevin for your second top tip. Off you go.
One of my physicians who's deep into the virus issue said that the BBC, only in the UK, reported that swearing helps you endure pain. Apparently at Keele University at Newcastle under Lyme, I think is where it is, they put people's hands in a bucket of ice water and allowed them to swear their favorite swear word. And they were able to endure that pain longer than if they were saying things like door or house or dog. He said, swearing is an emotional experience. If you overuse it, however, it undervalues the emotional attachment. And of course, Rowan Burt, who heads up UK's Casual Swearing Appreciation Society, said he thought, finally, swearing is being appreciated and its benefits are being proven. So I think the thing to think about is maybe I shouldn't swear as much as I do and save it for the special times.
Oh, perfect.
Damn good idea, Kevin.
Oh, fantastic. So, this is so hard.
Come on, get on with it, Gabby.
So,
you referee all the same.
I love the storytelling of Godfrey. So I'm going to recap. We've had always do what you've always done, and you'll always get what you've always got. The story of the gypsies, always treat others as you would like to be treated. Have courage to do, to stop doing, and have a to be list. We also had, when you go into conflict or negotiation, think of good guy, bad guy, and have your higher authority. We've had do what you have, when you're thinking about what you want to do, think about what you have to let go of. So have your let go list, similar to your to be list and your stop doing list. Again, storytelling around owning a property. Know the answer to one of the questions that you're going to ask, probably one of the first questions. And swearing can help if done just enough, not too much, but it does have great healing properties. So I am going to give that mark to Godfrey for your great storytelling yet again. So that's
wow.
One apiece.
Totally deserved. Totally deserved.
Okay, so are we ready for
Yeah.
round 3? So just to mix it up again, Kevin, seeing as you haven't gone first before, you are going to be starting off. So when you're ready for your 3rd top tip, off you go.
So I'm Irish, so my second language is sarcasm. Sarcasm comes from the ancient Greek word sarkasmos, which means to tear the flesh like dogs. And what I'm learning in my older years is to encourage instead. My dean at Loyola University gave a speech, a commencement speech, to our students, many of whom are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s coming back for their bachelor's degree. Here are the opening sentences. Listen to how she encouraged. What you may not know is how much you have given to us as a faculty. You've inspired us by your courage. You've surprised us by what you've brought to the classroom. You've encouraged us along the way by the way you value education. You motivated us to go above and beyond. You've shown us, gratified us, honored us. We're truly thankful for what you have brought us. Every day, we can say what we liked, what we learned, and what we appreciated to those we love.
You've got a timer there because you're doing it 100th of a
I think
second.
it's cheating going on here.
Well, I want to be, I want to be approved of by you, Gabby. So
Yeah.
I'm a pleaser.
Oh, wonderful, excellent. So next we will stay in America and move across to Tim for your 3rd top tip. When you're ready, off you go.
All right. I happen to have the privilege of working with some elite performers in sport. And what they know is that they either win or they learn. And whenever you have to understand that failure is literally the footlights on the path to success. The key question you ask after an event is, what went great? What went good? And what did I learn? Because amateurs practice until they get it right, but elite performers practice until they can't get it wrong. What do you learn is the key question for improving any performance in any endeavor.
Excellent. So still got another 10, 15 seconds, but that is all good. Succinct to the point.
That's right.
Practice until you can't get it wrong. Lovely.
That's a winner.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one. So we will go on my screen. I'm working backwards. So Godfrey, you are going to be going next for your 3rd top tip. When you're ready, off you go.
I'm turning now to selling a product or service, and presumably if you're doing the selling, you have to be confident in your product or service. And I very often used to say to a potential new client, please let me handle this case for you. I will do it for free. And we were pretty confident that if, for example, you were tracing somebody who couldn't be found, people, competitor firms would do it by database. We would do that, but we would also send somebody out to the actual address. And in our report, we would say, he's there today. This is his lifestyle. Here's a photograph. And we knew our report would win. And we would just say to the client, if you're happy, we don't want a fee, but please tell this to somebody else. Give us a recommendation. So top tip, do some work for free and get a recommendation.
Excellent. So again, you've got another 10 seconds to go, but that's fantastic. Spread the good news. Love it. Do some free work. And finally, last but not least, Derek, your 3rd top tip.
Thanks, Gabby.
You're ready.
My mum, who a couple of people on this call have met, passed away a few years ago, but she told me from being a very small boy, be careful who you mix with. And my mentor, Nido Cobain, said, you become who you hang out with. And he also said, if you lie down with dogs, you will get up with fleas. I heard another quote like that, which was that you earn 5 times the average of the 5 people you mix with. So make sure you hang around smart, people. The only mistake I've ever made is hanging around with these guys on the call today.
Wonderful. And again, you've got another 20 seconds. So based on the fact that there are some great tips in all of those, the guys that used up their time wisely and fully are Tim and Kevin. So a point to you. So we have
Very good.
to the
Oh, unbelievable,
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
To the UK. There's some lovely chat on the Zoom chat. I'm not very good at multitasking, but I shall read them out. So from John Lisby, Godfrey's tip was don't get shot. I think that's with regards to the good old gypsies. And Derek clearly agreed. Ryan, to again, everyone, you guys are looking incredible. Shows the importance of keeping the mind young and the body and looks will follow. So chaps, you're making an impression.
Good man, Ryan. The photo works quite well as well.
And great compliments there to all of you. Another message from John, Derek. How is the higher authority not your boss? So do you want to
I'll answer that now if you like. It's got to be a committee, John. It's got to be not just one person. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 people. It could be the credit committee. It could be the resourcing committee. It could be the make it up as you go along committee. It doesn't matter, but it can't be your boss because they'll get the boss. So
because the main reason being that they may well then want to speak to the boss only. So very important that it's either your partner or a group of people. And then Norman, to everyone, the SEMA tip was to dress up for a Zoom meeting, the same as if you were going to a live meeting. And Derek definitely saw that, because those of you that were here at the very beginning saw him actually getting dressed.
Yeah, he had to be nudged, Gabby.
Yeah. Yes. There's a saying which Derek knows only too well. When you're doing presenting, it's really important that you don't get ready in front of your audience. You actually arrive ready to. So yes.
I'm going off you, Gabby, very quickly.
And then Ryan, a good friend of mine, uses a phrase on his WhatsApp: "I never lose. I either win or I learn." And Tim, apparently Mandela may well have used it as well. So absolutely fantastic. So how are we doing for time? Because I don't have a clock.
We need to keep going. We need to keep going.
Okay, so we're 2-1. I'm on to the next page. Some great tips coming up. So we are going to work in reverse order of the last one. So Derek will be going first, then Godfrey, then Tim, and then Kevin. So let me get my...
Okay, well, I think it's jackets off now. I think really. Losing, I'm a bad loser. Right, okay.
Oh,
Right.
sausage cuffs, huh?
So
Keep calm. Calm.
keep calm and keep negotiating. I'm starting now, yeah?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so my negotiating tip for you is to always have a best position, a target position, a walk away position, and an alternative position if you do decide to walk away. And make these up, get them in clear in your own mind. Make sure the best position's a high one, that's your dream position. And the walk away position is where you might walk away, but these can change depending on the information. But your alternative position, and Harvard call that a BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, is the one that you need to think about. What will you do with the resources? What will you do with your time? What will you do with your investments if you do walk away? And linked to that, if you were looking at a risk assessment, if you do this deal, what's the best thing that could happen? What's the most likely thing that would happen? And what's the worst thing that can happen? If the worst thing isn't going to bankrupt you and you really want to go for it, then do it.
Bravo. Excellent. So next, Godfrey, over to you.
Sure. Okay. Go.
When you're ready.
A fairly new solicitor client of mine once asked me if I would film some activities in somebody's back garden. He wanted evidence for a court case. I refused. I said it was illegal, and there was me telling a solicitor his own business. He grinned at me and he said, "I'm just testing you, Godfrey. I now know I can trust you, and I would like you to come and work for me." So the top tip and the message coming out is always be ethical, always be legal. It will pay long-term benefits, and you will get rewards by sticking to that.
Excellent. Brilliant. You've got another 20 seconds, but thank you very much indeed. Succinct to the point. Always stay true to your moral compass.
There
Always.
should probably be a penalty, shouldn't there, for if you don't use your full time? I think that's
Certainly not. It shows
in a world where we're getting faster and faster and faster, the fact
I'm
that
going to make some suggestions for the next one that you do.
Oh, wonderful. And Tim, over to you, my love. So we have got 1 minute for your fourth top tip. Off you go.
All right. Well, our dear friend and colleague from these broadcasts, Ali, the physiotherapist, is here today. But I did want to share with you a breathing method that will reduce anxiety, focus attention, and increase energy. And it's incredibly simple. I learned it from the Navy SEALs, 2 Navy SEALs in particular. And it's called box breathing. And I'm just going to go through it. It's just you inhale for 5, you hold for 5, you exhale for 5, and you hold empty for 5. Inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold empty for 5. And I can do that for the entire rest of the 60 seconds if you want, but that's the point. Box breathing, count of 5, 10 repetitions.
Excellent. Wonderful. It is a great method of just centering yourself and bringing yourself into the now. If I did 5, I think I'd have to count 5 rather fast, especially when you're beginning. Excellent. Wonderful tip there, Tim. And finally, Kevin, when you are ready, over to you.
If you only have a minute, don't try cramming 2 minutes worth of material into your 1 minute. Sometimes at the end of speeches, we will have 20 slides left, but only 5 minutes of time left. Sometimes you'll hear a presenter say, "Fasten your seatbelts, we've got 20 slides left." Well, the audience at that point has already mentally left. Instead, what if you knew the number of the slide that was your last slide, and you punch the number and enter into your computer? It will automatically go to that slide, and you can complete your program. The audience doesn't know that you skipped 19 slides. They'll only know that you got there. Even better, hit the B key, B as in black. Your screen will go black. Take a step towards your audience and say, here's the point of what today is all about. Audiences love it when you use the B key. It's their signal that that's wisdom coming toward them. The B key and the number key.
Wonderful. Great tips for presenting. Wonderful, wonderful. So, how do I score that?
Earning your money now.
Knowing your positions, breathing, always being, I mean, they're just 4 great tips. So I'm going to give each one of you a mark for that. So we have 3 for the UK and 4 for the US.
No.
Very good.
What?
That's where we're up to.
Unbelievable.
So you get 2 points a piece on that round. Absolutely wonderful.
And Gabby, you helped Tim by calling him my love when you started.
Oh, did I?
So
Which wasn't lost on me.
I may need that on the next round if you don't mind.
You've always got my love.
There may be something going on here underhand, Godfrey, that we don't know about.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we are on round 5 now, and we are going to start with Godfrey. So Godfrey, when you are ready, let me just reset. Your time starts now.
some of you may remember when we last chatted on Derek's web chat that I look after the local YMCA. We have about 600 users, but of course at the moment we're closed. And one of the questions from the audience on the web chat was, what are you going to do if you can't open in September? I didn't have an answer, and the reason was we were doing some what-if scenario modeling. Do we have to make redundancies? Do we have to mothball? Can we reopen on a limited budget? Can we borrow privately, and so on? And the message really is one that we all know, but you've got to have a plan. If you have a plan, you can be flexible and change it. If you don't have a plan, you're a bit stuffed. And the old saying is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Excellent. Like it. Thank you very much indeed. And then we're going to go over to Kevin for your 5th tip. So when you are ready,
Great.
Off you go.
Consider charging and telling the client, whatever you think it's worth, that's what you can pay me. One of our speakers in America has built his whole career around this. He has weekends with small business people. At the end of the weekend, he said, write a check for whatever you think this weekend was worth to you. It's interesting because there's even a Romanian hotel where you get a blank piece of paper for lunch and dinner. You write down what you think the meal was worth, and that's what they charge you. The owner of the hotel said, I make more money this way too. So I have a summer seminar, 12 weeks for spiritual directors at Loyola University in Chicago. And instead of charging a fee, I said, just wait till the end of the 12 weeks. Write me a check for what you think it was worth. Of course, the major source of contention now is not the curriculum. The major source is, well, how will I know how much to pay him? So this is making everybody just a little bit crazy.
Wonderful. You've definitely got a timer in front of you. Perfect. Spot on.
Cheating.
It takes a lot of trust to do that, and faith in yourself, faith in your service, and the ability to definitely make more money that way. So wonderful tip, Kevin. Love it. And back to the UK, we're going to go to Derek for his 5th tip. So when you are ready,
yeah,
go.
The language you use is really, really important. It affects you and it affects the other person. I remember listening to some Brian Tracy tapes, and they were tapes in about 1990 when I was working for Barclays. And he said, every time someone asks you how you are, he said, say fantastic. And I thought this was an incredibly stupid thing to do. I tried it out. I laughed. The other person laughed, and I felt better. So ever since then, I've been saying fantastic, and I learned from somebody called Peter Thompson also to say fantastic, thank you for asking. But also the language, I challenge people to come up with the 26 most positive words they can from A to Z. And people have a big problem with C and a big problem with Z, but amazing, beautiful, curious, determined, energetic, fantastic, great, and so on. That's a great little challenge to do. And the other thing is, the word curious is a wonderful word. I'm curious where you're coming from. Never let anyone say, I'll try and do that, because they won't do it. And I'm going to have to stop now or I'll lose a point that I deserve.
Faith in your product, faith in your tip. Well done, Derek. And finally over to Tim. So when you are ready, sir, off you go.
All right, this is the most powerful tip or tool that I've learned in the last several years. You can use it with people that you work with, live with, or that you encounter in your normal day-to-day activities. Praise both the performance as well as the performer. We usually just praise the performance by saying, good job, great job, or something like that. But add something personal for the performer. Say, great job. I noticed that you stayed late several evenings to get that project finished, and I know that you missed at least one of your son's football games. It's great to have someone like you on our team. Thank you very much. Great job. Praise the person and the performance. I've started doing that with grocery clerks who are exposed to Corona. They love it. Smile, one cry.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. So we have got some great tips coming through here. I love, Timothy, the fact that you started with, this is the most powerful tip that there is in life. Loving the influence of the use of the language. There seems to be a theme going on here. It's very good.
I'm an NLP master as well.
That's where it comes from, clearly. So what if, play the what if game for your life, projects that you've got, for negotiations, for whatever. Kevin was, I can't actually read what I've written, pay what you're worth. So it's that having faith that what you are offering has value, and using great language. So on that round, oh, Derek, this is the worst job ever.
Listen, if Tim loses, he's going to get that gun cabinet out. So we would probably concede.
Should I reveal it now?
I think you should. Yeah. This is what happens if we win. Watch Tim.
On that round, for the succinctness, the scenarios, the what if, and just personal preference, because what if is one of my favourite games, I'm going to give that to the UK. So we are at 4 apiece.
Well,
that's so. Tim is now going to show us his flag and what's underneath it. If we had those things in my house, I think we would end up in prison.
Wow.
And that's by the front door, Tim, isn't it? In case you get the bad guys arrive.
This is a totally Texas thing. So my wife is a Texan, and they even have gun racks in the back of their pickup trucks where they can put their rifles.
Virtually all of the women that I know either have a gun, and half of them have made their own guns, their own ARs. I should point out, in the US, gun sales in March were up 91%.
I can imagine.
And almost all of the buyers were first-time gun buyers, which for us is a very big concern because they don't know how to handle what they do. I have military background and I train all the time. Anyway, so you sure you want to stand by that decision, Gabby?
Thankfully, you can't get me here.
Behind the Jolly Roger there, or the, what do you call your flag again? I forget.
Jolly Roger.
Union
Jack. Roger, that'd be Union Jack.
I personally call it the European flag, but hey.
Guys, Gabby's done a great job despite the refereeing, which I thought we won easily, in my opinion. Godfrey, don't you? But there we go.
Well, I think we should have got extra marks for uniform and dress and presentation.
Dress for success and all that, but you know,
Sounds
never
like
mind.
A rematch.
Never mind. I'm going to.
A rematch would be good.
A rematch. I'm going to open up the lines in a minute, but it's easier if you put any questions in the chat box. But if you do want to ask a question, please can it be really succinct, as my friend Patricia Fripp says, 10 seconds and a question, not a statement, which I've seen her do many, many times, and it really does work well. Yeah, we could have a rematch, but if anybody else would like to come on, if we do this next week and give a tip, it doesn't have to be 5, it doesn't have to be a competition, but just maybe giving 1 tip or 2 tips, which are really powerful. Keep it under 60 seconds, which is good. Then that's what we'll do. So,
and I'm going to be writing up a tip that I read last night from Jack Nicholson, but I'm going to be writing it in the chat room for you to see rather than it being videoed or recorded. So enjoy. It's mainly chats, okay? So ladies, you can just have a smile, a knowing smile.
I'll keep the recording going for another couple of minutes, and then we'll turn it off, and then we'll throw it wide open. Was it Jack Nicholas that said, or you said Jack Nicholson, Jack Nicholas, the golfer, who said the more I prepare, the luckier I get?
No, Gary Player.
Okay, I was close.
You were wrong.
That was Lee Trevino.
Tiger Woods.
Gabby, my love, I think you did it. I loved how you did this with grace and aplomb, and with humor, as well as with incredible fairness. So,
yeah.
Wow.
And I
Is
think
that
Elon
just, is
looking
that
for
praising the job and praising the
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. We're using the tips already. Fantastic.
Okay, guys, you're all unmuted. So if somebody would like to put their hand up and ask a question, that's the floor's open. Okay, shall I take that as a no? And what we'll do then is close the recording off. I'll just remind you that on Monday I've got Justin Urquhart-Stewart. We'll do something similar to this next Thursday, and I've got a few people lined up for Wednesday lunchtime, but they don't know about it yet. On Tuesday, they will do though. On Tuesday morning, Graham Jones and I are running a top masterclass virtually, and we are going to do 17 sessions of 3 minutes each. We normally do 17 sessions of 17 minutes, but because it's virtually, we're going to do it. And we have a lady that was coming over from China to this when we were running it in London. And anybody who wants to join, it's free. The link's on the email I sent you. The link will be on Monday, and you can join. You can do other things at the same time and just listen in if you want to and turn your camera off. Whatever you like. Graham and I have a ball doing this, and we're going to do 17 sessions of 3 minutes, starting with leadership, body language, negotiating tips, sales tips, influencing tips, etc. So we're going to be challenged, but it's going to be great fun. And Graham's in such demand, he hasn't got a free date in his diary until the 29th of June, but that's his fault because he's working full time at Buckingham University and serving his clients. So have a fantastic weekend, and I'll turn the recording off now. Thanks, Gabby, for all your help. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Kevin from the USA. Thanks, Godfrey, for supporting me as usual and dressing correctly with a blazer and a tie on.